Welcome. Thank you for coming. Honestly, I did not expect so many people to come. Thank you for participating in the kickoff of the series. This is the first 𝗵𝗵 fireside chat, and I'm very grateful for everyone who came. Honestly, when I started this project 2.5 years ago, I did not expect myself to be anywhere here, effectively. It started as a blog, then it grew into a radio show and a podcast. Is now gathering people offline and will hopefully grow into a real community. And before we do the real kickoff, there are a few thank yous that really matter, and without those, tonight simply would not be possible. The first is, of course, to the Ministry of Family Affairs, Solidarity and Living Together and Reception of Refugees for the support and trust. This series is made possible thanks to that support and trust. Tonight, we wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for them. A huge thank you to you, Radio 𝗪𝗲. Francisca, can I please ask you to stand up so that everybody could see you? Yes, a round of applause. Radio 𝗪𝗲 in general, and Francisca here in particular, she's the editor-in-chief, has been a partner on 𝗵𝗵 with me for almost the entire duration of the project. Thank you for believing in it, thank you for co-producing it, and for helping take these stories outside of the room into the real world. And of course, thank you to you, 𝗕𝗪𝗪 for this amazing space, for being our main partner, venue partner for the series, and for welcoming us in this warm and human space. We're going to go over the three main traditions, spring traditions of Luxembourg. This is basically the topic and why this topic was selected for tonight. This topic was selected because we're effectively standing at the edge of spring. The days are getting longer, especially today is the best day ever after several weeks of despair. This last weekend was just horrible, but finally here we are, 16 degrees of heat and of warmth. Effectively for Luxembourg, for a small agrarian country, historically this moment mattered more than we probably may realize today. And the main three traditions that we selected are the 𝗪𝗪𝗏𝗏, pretzel sundae, and 𝗕𝗫𝗁. Basically, I think that most people here in this room definitely have heard of them. Some might have even participated, saw the bonfires, eaten the pretzels, walked through the bird whistle market. But I also know that most people are only familiar with them on the surface. So tonight we're going to go through all of them and see how they created a social structure, how they helped manage courtship, belonging, timing, and who could approach whom, when, and how. So I wanted to give an example of why, non-Luxembourgish example of why traditions matter and why it's important to know the origins of the traditions. Again, non-Luxembourgish example, but why I selected this one is because it was very, very recent. That happened literally just now, a couple of months ago. So what you see on the screen is a Christmas tree on Trafalgar Square in London. As you can see, it is, it's a Christmas tree. So it's there, it's lit up. What started happening after it got installed this year, and apparently that's something that happens every year, but I only noticed it this time, started happening the outrage online where people were saying that how unimpressive it is, not particularly beautiful, that some trees someplace else could have looked and do look much better, comparing it to 𝗪𝗔𝗀𝗏, to 𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗏, comparing it to 𝗪𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏 of London, compare it to some sticks, decorated sticks in the living room. Effectively, it got to the point, so that was happening for about 2 weeks, and then it got to the point where the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Norway had to come online. I drew you, we're not going to do the video here, but this is a snippet from the video, and you can easily find it online. So he had to come online and do the entire speech about why the tree looks the way it does, precisely because it's always looked this way. It's always looked this way for the last 70 years, and the tradition is the following. It is the annual gift from the country of Norway to the UK that was kicked off right after the Second World War as a token of appreciation from Norway to the UK for the British support during the Second World War. And it keeps on going every year. Is the same tree from the same forest. It looks very similar, one tree with the other. And obviously, you can imagine that at the end of the Second World War, there were not a lot of means to decorate the Christmas tree like properly, and for it to be beautiful in a perceived way. Effectively, this is what this evening is about. This is again, non-Luxembourgish example, but I think it's quite telling for why it is important to know where traditions came from, to not misunderstand them or dismiss them entirely. So tonight I'm joined by my dear friend Rosana here. Rosana is a tour guide in Luxembourg, and this is probably the only non-Luxembourgish person who I can confidently say loves Luxembourg more than I do. And this is quite a unique trait in a person that I've met. But Rosana brings a cross-cultural lens and the outlook at quite local happenings. And we're going to talk about 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 together. So we're going to be venturing out a little bit into other traditions too. They're not going to be the main focal point of attention, but it is important to mention them nevertheless, because they are important for this historical continuum to understand what was happening and how they came about and came together. But 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just happened last weekend, Sunday. We went. I missed this slide. Amazing picture of Rosana that
I look the same. I'm probably wearing the same.
Voila. But looks amazing nevertheless. And yes, so this is the tradition. We went. These are the pictures that we took. With the light, you can't really see it, but this is zoomed in, and that one is zoomed out. Let's maybe start with what it is.
Well, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you, Julia, for allowing me to be here with you today. And thank you, everyone, for coming and for having this space. I come here to this talk not only as a tour guide, but as an observer. I come from, like she says, a cross-cultural background. I was born in Venezuela. I come from an Italian family. I was raised Catholic. So this is in the Lenten calendar in Luxembourg, but I didn't grow up with this kind of traditions. And also living in Luxembourg as well. And I don't see this in Italy either. So my family is from Sicily. So I come here as a very curious observant of how these traditions have evolved through, some of them through centuries. So let's get it going. So what is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏? So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a communal bonfire that has a structure. So it's recorded since probably it has roots in pre-Roman or Germanic traditions, although there's two trains of thought here. The pre-Roman, but before the Romans, where does it come from? So that's why it's thought as what's kind of like Germanic influence. There are many fires across the region. So it's not only a Luxembourgish thing, but it's also done in Belgium. It's also done in France. I lived in Germany. It's done in Germany as well. So in other regions, in Austria, in Switzerland. So it's although it's not only Luxembourgish, here it has really taken root and it has really become part of the identity of the country, which hasn't happened in any other place. So it's a communal bonfire that has evolved through the centuries, regardless of the origins, and it's a real opportunity for the community to come together and burn the winter away. So we burned the winter on Sunday. On Monday, I sent her a picture, their son, like this works. Like really this works. And then look at the weather for the rest of the week. So did we really burn the summer? The winter, not the summer. We don't want to burn the summer.
Don't want to burn the summer. Honestly, it was like I switched. Like I feel like this week, well, today specifically, but it was like, you know, somebody just, you know, went and did it and voila, we finally have sun.
Yeah, it usually happens the first a week after Carnival, so that first Sunday of Lent. So that was on Sunday, the 22nd. Now, I think some of the communities here saw the weather forecast and they said, we're gonna have it on Saturday. And I think that was actually a really smart move. The majority happened on Sunday, but you ran the risk. I mean, this was, I'm sorry that we can see it here, but this was one of the castles that they built in 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏, and it was about 25 meters high. It was huge.
It was huge.
Huge. I don't know how long that took to burn, but it took a while for it to catch fire because of the weather.
Yeah.
So that was part of it too.
It was drizzling first, and now it was really ugly rain, and it was just raining and raining and raining. And obviously, I feel like they had to use something, you know, like to kind of cure the wood, because otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. I know that we have some Eastern Europeans in the room, and I wanted to show you kind of, you know,
segue.
Exactly, into the Eastern European ways. We also do have a very similar tradition, if not the same. It's not like a castle or like construction looking, effectively construction. It is like a kind of creature made of straws. Like a straw man.
Like the straw man that was in 𝗏𝗏.
Yes, yeah. Exactly, that was in 𝗏𝗏. So we do have it also on the 22nd, like a massive straw man or a woman. And that is, it has the same implications also. So it is, you know, to burn the winter away and then go into Lent. Now, it is preceded by a no less, you know, nice tradition of crepe eating. So pancakes, crepes for the entire week. You do that, and it's amazing. I was doing that. I was cooking them every day. It was the best week ever.
Didn't bring any, huh?
That's over now.
What is that?
It's over now. We're gonna have some catering after the, you know, down the line, some Spanish food, by the way, and burgers. Yes, so this is to say, I did have a question in on my list. This is not only Luxembourgish tradition, and but surprisingly indeed, yes, it kind of got stuck in Luxembourg in a good sense. It got stuck in Luxembourg
in a good sense. And as you mentioned, the straw man, the week before, so the week before the Bursbrennen, which I didn't know, in 𝗏𝗏, there was the burning of the straw man, and it was to mark the end of Carnival. So I think we just like to burn things away. I don't know. And then a friend of mine said, oh, in Valencia, in Spain, there's also some burning going on. And I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know this. Again, I lived in Venezuela, I lived in Berlin, I lived in the US for many years. And, you know, some of these structures are built as a mound, you know, a pile of stuff. Some of them have a cross, so that is for either a structural support or for Christian tradition. And some of them look like castles or something else. In the US, if we see a cross burning that is not part of living in a prayer with Madonna, we run the other way. So we have Americans in the room like, no, we're going the other way. And here, you know, we burn crosses. It's just like, you know, like what I said, I come from a very open-minded and just like this cross-cultural thing, just because I find it fascinating that this country has taken this Lenten calendar and really dive deep into it. Obviously, now we look at it more like secular. This place here, they did it on, the burn was on Sunday, but on Saturday they had a rave at this place.
Yeah.
So they had a bunch of DJs, they had a massive party, it didn't rain, And I'm like, we should have come that.
Yeah.
What were we doing?
This is exactly what I was thinking. But also that particular Bruges-Benen that we went through, it celebrated 10 years this year. And they do that, I don't know when they started doing the Rive, was that
no.
originally, I'm not sure. But, you know, popularizing it and bringing it to, you know, especially trying to bring it to people, and especially trying to maybe attract somebody, you know, younger, like just younger generation, because it is quite a traditional thing. And what I wanted to also cover with you was, historically, there was a part of this tradition where first it was just men, then it was newlyweds who had the honor of literally like lighting it. So can you talk to me about that? So traditional implication here.
Yeah, of course. So this Bruges-Benen, this is coming from the Middle Ages. So imagine at the beginning, or from the documented times, it started with only men. So men had to build this, and they only had the right to light it up and have a party. We still have a party now. There's food, there's grilled woods, there's all sorts of soups and drinks and all that. So right now it's like a fair. Then women were allowed into it. And who had the honor to light up the pyre was the newlyweds, or the couple that was about to get married. So just remember that these are very small type of communities, and they don't only have the honor of doing it, but they also had to carry the costs of gathering all the materials, building it, then entertaining their friends and the food. So if I want to compare it, it's like a debut in society. So like Hispanic kids, we have our quinceañeras, which I didn't have. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to dress like a pompon. I just want to travel. But a lot of them do. So, and it's like in the Victorian era, you know, the girls were presented to the court, you know, to the queen or whatever for the debut in society. So this was the debut in society, in adulthood for this couple, this newlywed couple. And it also marked, they're kind of like, oh, okay, you're adults now. This is a rite of passage for your prosperity and fertility, just because this also kind of falls into the late February, close to the equinox, which it also kind of falls into the timing of this burning. Some people think that happened in the Roman New Year, which was March 1st. So that's also part of the thinking on how it got originated. So imagine newlyweds. They're like, well, we have to pay for all this. We have to build it. We have to entertain people. It's gonna cost us. We want to have a little house. We want to start a life. So that kind of dwindled in the 19th century. And obviously, you know, after that, the authorities got involved. And now these are built with the fire brigade and other type of organizations that are involved. So you cannot just like build your wood thing and just like light it on fire. You cannot do that anymore. But at some point you were able to do it. And in fact, in the 70s, you were able to burn tires and all sorts of trash. So now it's just, it has to be a dry, dead wood, and it can be like old Christmas trees, but it has to be very regulated and climate friendly.
I wanted to talk to you about that exactly. Like you mentioned the 70s. Now, there were several revivals, and we spoke about that offline, Troy. There were several revivals of Bruges-Benen in the 20th century. I mean, it was always a thing before the 20th century, obviously, as we discussed, but there were several like wives, 20s, 30s, then 70s, 80s, and then beginning of the 21st century. Can you talk to us about why that was the thing? Why specifically during these periods?
Well, let's go back and look at the revival time. So we have the 30s, we have the 60s, the 70s, and then after in the 2000s. So the Bruges-Benen went from about 100 recorded in the 60s to over 260 in the 2020s. So these dates kind of mark a pivotal change in the world. We're talking interwar times. between the First and the Second World War. We are talking the social upheaval of the 60s. We are talking globalization. So the tradition offers continuity in times of change. They serve as an anchor. And not only 𝗏𝗏, we can talk about any other tradition that has grown over the time. It actually gets stronger when things change way too fast. Yeah. It's like an anchor, it's like a safe space, it's like, okay, it's belonging. And so it's tied to the cultural identity of the country.
To fall back on, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that it really is a type of a tradition that's kind of, you know, you don't have a lot of those in the world in general. Like you have Easter, you know, I mean, like locally speaking, like obviously you have Easter that is like universal. Then you have the New Year's, and then you have New Year's and Christmas.
Which in Luxembourg, everyone travels, so.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, what else have you? I mean, in terms of those universal holidays, but here in Luxembourg, 𝗏𝗏, I mean, I have to say that I've been here for 4 years now, and every year, without failure, my social media is flooded. Yeah. Like, all the news outlets, everything, everyone talks about 𝗏𝗏 all over the country. You see the, you know, the news going and, like, doing the reporting, like, live and whatnot. Again, this place is huge, and there were a lot of English speakers there. You could hear, you know, people speaking English. There were a lot of Luxembourgers there at the same time. So you quite a, you know, international setting, and it's a good thing because this is how this is something that can help you, like really kind of feel the local culture and, like, you know, maybe help integrate.
If I may add, it's really funny just because I'm part of some WhatsApp groups and Meetup and all that, and I saw a comment on a Meetup group about this one here. Hey guys, what's going on? There's a Burning Man in neither whatever. You know, does anybody know about it? And I mentioned this to you. It's like this person is probably new to Luxembourg and really has no clue what's going on. But they know there's something going on. But it was really funny. You know, some people started to comment and send links. You know, there's this tradition happening or whatever. But it's not. Although it's everywhere, you know, unless there's something that really catches your eye. And for this person there's a Burning Man in Luxembourg in neither whatever. So it's like, yeah, they probably thought it was going to be like you're going to camp outside or something like that. But it was just really interesting to read that.
I mean, I was thinking about that because we had a discussion about this, and I was like, well, I mean, if that's something that can help you or like suggest this is what it kind of resembles, you know, if you're coming from outside Luxembourg, yes, I mean, yeah, you can use it as a, you know, as an example. Well, I haven't really seen any of the news outlets using it as an example to me, but, you know, that would have been. I think that it's now time to go show you the second tradition, and there's a very clear link. Okay, let's hope that this works. Worked. Yay! Yeah, so there's a very clear link between the first one and the second one, this one. So pretzelsondag, literally pretzel Sunday. This is literally what it means. So what's the link? How is this connected?
So what's the link? The link is that on the 4th Sunday of Lent, so we have Carnival. You know, everyone, you know, dressed up to the nines, you know, fun, loud. Then a week later, Lent starts. We're gonna do a massive reset. We're gonna burn the winter. You know, we're going to set up, you know, the smoke so we can predict the weather for the grapes. They used to do that. It's like if the smoke will go all the way up, it's like that means a good harvest for the grapes and stuff, and for prosperity. Then a few weeks later, then we have the pretzelsondag. So what is it? It's a ritualized courtship tradition. Mm-hmm. Where affection is indirectly communicated through food. So has anybody here been on a pretzelsondag or received a pretzel on bread? Oh, there we go. Yeah. You, David?
Yeah, but he doesn't know about it.
Okay, so. All right, so save the date. This year's March 15th. So that's when the men need to give a pretzel, a sweet pretzel, to the women that they love or that they fancy. The bigger the pretzel, the bigger their adoration. So now you know. Caveat, now the second part is, if the women reciprocate, they will give the egg, an egg, chocolate egg, or a hen's egg. I mean, you do you, honey. On April 5th. What's day? That's Easter Sunday. So we have March 15th and then April 5th. So you give the pretzel to the lady. The lady thinks about if she fancies you or not. And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to give an egg to this guy. Luxembourg, baby. So that's what it is. So it's been documented since the 18th century, and we can go more into detail. But I think you had a question, and I interrupted you, so please.
No, the question was how, so 𝗏𝗏𝗏, well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So during the 𝗏𝗏𝗏, we were talking about how he starts the bonfire, who lights it up. Now, after that, single women...
When women were able to participate.
When women were able to participate, this is a very important note, they would basically walk by the bonfire or walk up to the bonfire and throw beams like wood.
Logs, yeah.
While doing so, they would shout out the name of the person they fancy, hoping that he would hear and understand where it would come from. Female logic, I know.
Yeah, the math is not mathing. Imagine me like, 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, like, it's just...
But this
like an egg.
That was that. And then, assumably, so the man, who hears it and he thinks that, well, this is from the woman who I fancy, Ťoriu, on pretzel Sunday, and pretzel Sunday comes up Ťoriu to her and gives her the pretzel. There's obviously, the time to think. So we have 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 happening on the 22nd of February. Then we have pretzel Sunday, 15th of March. So there's several weeks between. And then Easter, several weeks down the line also. So you have time to reflect.
And this doesn't happen by chance. At the beginning or when these things started, they were not so much integrated into the Christian calendar. But if we go back real quick to the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, in the 16th century, the church didn't like the promiscuity that it brought, like the debauchery, and that they just started to integrate it into the Lenten calendar. So they really marked, okay, so 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is this day. So the courtship starts here, and it follows here, and it closes here. So you will see here in these three events how this Lenten calendar evolves into kind of the starting of the courtship and then the closing of the deal, hopefully. I mean, with food, like why not? And then it ends up in Easter with the 𝗏.
Important note that also not a lot of sources mention, but we managed to find it and dug it up. There was now it's regarded maybe as a side tradition, but back in the day, specifically in the Moselle region, Lenin Sunday. So Lenin Sunday, literally borrowing Sunday, was in the Moselle region, an integral part of this, continuum of traditions, used to take place on the same day with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yes, so in the Moselle region, and this was discovered or publicized, or I would say, or reported by a dictionary in 1906. Lenin Sunday, or pretzel Sunday, would be the same day as the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. So the courtship time was condensed into one day, like 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and then 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 will hear and just like, okay, well, give me pretzel on the same day, But it would happen on the same day, and also they were, imagine, going back, small communities, very small, think small, and probably women did not have a lot of option here, but they were paired. So the woman was the thing to be borrowed for Lenin Sunday, borrowed for protection. So single women would be paired, hopefully with the guy that they fancied, but I don't think they had much saying into it. Obviously, this started to die down, and the separation of the dates comes after these pretzel Sundays started to spread all over the country, away from the Moselle. So they're like, we cannot do these two things on one day. Let's separate them, and then going by the Lenten calendar. Another very interesting thing, and you probably are thinking, so what happens after the egg? right? I mean, I get a pretzel, which is a sweet pretzel. So today in age, it's kind of like a brioche or enriched bread that is as big as my head, and I have a huge head. I have size 58 or 59.
Which you can't tell. She looks very petite.
If no, I do have a big head. If not, I mean, if you want to give me a hat, now you know my size. And they're iced, and then they have sliver almonds and all sorts of sweets on top of it. And I already started seeing at the supermarket, you know, there's like, oh, pretzel sundae is coming. Get your like pretzels and stuff.
Yep.
They used to be Lenten food. So it used to be like the pretzel that we know. It was flour, you know, salt, a little bit of yeast. That was permitted during Lent.
Yeah.
Then it became this sweet thing. But after the egg, going back to the egg, so what happens if a woman doesn't want to give the egg? She gives an empty basket. And I don't know if anybody here speaks Luxembourgish. I don't,
yes.
But oh, perfect. So what's the phrase that you say when you give an empty basket to someone for rejection?
The phrase that the 𝘙𝗵𝗏.
The 𝘙𝗵𝗏𝗏. There we go. So when you give an empty basket or when you're dumped by someone, is that phrase, the 𝘙𝗵𝗏𝗏. And I don't know if we have written anywhere else, but that comes from that tradition. So if you didn't get the egg, and you got an empty basket, you just got dumped.
Yes, apparently it is a phrase that, you know, every single Luxembourgish language speaker knows well, and German apparently too. Voila. Do we want to mention what happens after the egg? So you, as in, you know, if you did receive the egg, also several.
The missing part of the tradition.
The 𝗓𝗏𝗏.
The missing half.
Missing half.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
of course. So going back to the Moselle region. So let's go back to that place in our minds. So pretzel, egg, and we start to like run the clock. So before it was just those two things. There's a missing half of the tradition that did not spread out through the whole country with the pretzel sundae. So the third Sunday after Easter, remember these two were condensed in one day, first Sunday of Lent, right? And I know there's the dates are just like what we will see it on a timeline later on. And for the Luxembourgish in the room, I am so sorry. I'm probably gonna butcher these words, but there happened the 𝗕𝗪-𝗮. So that is, there we go. So that is the third Sunday after Easter, where a little pastry was given after the egg. So pretzel, girl to guy, then egg, guy to girl, then egg, back, and then there's a 𝗕𝗪𝗏, it's a little pastry. That went out of style in the 19th century, obviously. And then by Pentecost, there was another pastry. So we're sealing this deal with food, not with jewelry. Which, it's like, yeah. So this one is called 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏. So that would be another little wreath pastry.
Like wreath shape.
Yeah, so given back. So it's like 4 exchanges that happen in like these 4 weeks to kind of close the deal. So what's interesting about that is like we started really loud yelling names into a fire, but then this whole exchange is kind of quiet because food is quiet. Probably not very secret. Like if you're in a small village, you probably know who got the egg or who got the basket, but it's quiet. And all this pause and this time means that people have a time to reflect. The church was controlling that calendar, so probably you have to abide by it. And also, you know, it provided dignity, just because you're in such a small type of community that your reputation wouldn't be, you know, ruined if you got a basket or what else.
Yeah, but it would be surely, you know, embarrassing if you got told off and then everybody knows about it, and you have like 10 people, you know, on your street, and these are just, you know, just these 10 people that you've always known in your life.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you know,
they will know, but it's at least quiet. It's not loud as fire, right?
Yeah, voilà, exactly. So the last part I think that needs to be covered here is the pretzel itself.
Itself, yeah. I find this fascinating. So the origins of the pretzel. So it's a medieval bread allowed during Lent. You know, we think of it and we think about the German pretzel kind of concept. There's two theories. Well, there's more than two, but there's two that really kind of like took over. One that I'm going to defend to the day I die. Italian monks gave the pretzel to the kids for reciting their prayers, so as a reward. Of course, that makes absolute sense in my mind because Italian people will give you food for reward for anything. So absolutely, you know, like I abide by that. It's like, yes, that's it. Another theory comes before then. It's a Celtic theory in which the pretzel symbolizes the human sacrifice done to the Celtic goddess Sirona. So it represented the noose of the three people, you know, used for the three people that died in a human sacrifice. Now, this is unproven, but it still sticks.
Yeah.
What is really known is like the word pretzel comes from the Latin brachium. Brachium means arms. So maybe arms in prayer, maybe interlocking arms for lovers. Later on, the pretzel became kind of like a love symbol in Switzerland because they started to give it at weddings. So maybe that's how it became part of this love courtship ritual thing. But that's the origin of the pretzel. So we go back to the Middle Ages again for Lenten food, and then it becomes this really, really sweet treat.
It's just amazing to me, to be honest, how all of this, well, at least it's true, Luxembourgish traditions like stem really, really far. You know, it could go really, really far in history, and they still managed to survive. This is amazing. And also, I think we mentioned that it's at least with 𝗵𝗿𝗏𝗂𝗏, definitely pagan origin. I mean, different sources say different things, but if you think about it, and then you compare it to the neighboring countries, and again, I'm driving the Eastern European train here, so on our side, it's definitely pagan origin. It's just amazing how it survived.
Yeah, but let's not see it as a duality, pagan versus Christian or whatever. It's layered. It's evolved. I mean, we can see now that although it happens in the Lenten calendar, we had a rave and we were drinking glühwein, and people were having beer and they brought their own beer. So it's
that was so smart, y'all. Like, if you go there next year,
BYOB.
Highly recommend, because people had their thermoses, they were smart, it was like really cold, well-ish cold. It was raining, but people didn't have to stand in the lines or kind of hold the space for somebody while somebody else was grabbing the food or the drink. So yes, this is a practical advice.
Yeah, and in some of the villages, which we didn't see, but they do a procession with torches. Again, the American in me would have run the other way. I'm like, called fackelzug. So, they bring the little torches and they light up the pyre. In this case, it was from within. They had some pyrotechnics all involved, and then there's some fireworks, and then the thing started to burn. It was amazing. I mean, I'm sorry that the weather was like that, because we would have been, you cannot really be close to it just because of the fire brigade.
Yeah.
But it was really quite interesting to see, and it took a lot of work. I think they took like 2 weeks to build that place.
Yeah, 100%. And they were also posting about it online. It's very interesting to see what the process of building it looked like. Yes, the weather was, it was a shame it was bad, because usually when it is good, when you're close to it, because it's so huge, you just feel it's like such a wave of, I don't know, it's very impressive. And when it's lit up and you can feel the heat too, even though you're standing really far. So, yeah.
I'm kind of glad we were not close to it, just because I didn't want to smell like barbecue.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
When you're really close to a fire.
Do you remember the ashes? You can't see, well, if I go back, I don't think that we can see, but
No.
basically the ashes were going all the way, like, I mean, that way, not where we were standing. Yeah, and I think now is actually the time, we're right on time, to cover the last one. Now, this one is not particularly, related to either bridgebanen or pretzelsondag, but still is important because it is, celebrated to this day, notably in Luxembourg City, on the Easter Monday. So we have Easter Sunday, and that's the next day when we all have, it's a public holiday here in Luxembourg. So I highly recommend and encourage everyone to go on the 6th of April.
That's correct. That's correct. And as you say, it's on Easter Monday, and it happens in the city of Luxembourg in the old fish market. That, for those of you who don't know, that is right where the museum, the National Museum, is sitting there, and it's actually fish market. It says on the street sign, and also in a village called 𝗪𝘶𝗵𝘁𝘀𝗵, which is, I think, by Kapellen, around that area.
Yeah, and it started actually not in Luxembourg City. It started in well, effectively, my understanding, it started in 𝗪𝘶𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗵, didn't it? With Saint Michael's Church, the Brotherhood of the Bakers. So it was Easter. They celebrated.
Actually, Luxembourg City. So Saint Michael's Church is the oldest city, the oldest church in the city. So that's, I believe, 987, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the church that when you go to Le Chemin de la Corniche, the old church that's by the oldest pub, the 17th century pub. So it's right there close to, forgot the name of the pub, but it's also close to this museum. So it was, yeah, it was a craft market done at the fish market in Luxembourg City. So it used to be done before it got moved to the fish market outside the church. So the records go from 1827, where a cop said, there's a lot of noise outside the church and mass cannot go on, just because they were selling trinkets and all sorts of things. The connection to 𝗪𝘶𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗵 is because 𝗪𝘶𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗵 had a potter's guild dating back from the 15th century. So I would say 1458. Okay. And these little pekvillertjes, this is what you buy in the Amiatian market. This is done with 𝗪𝘶𝗵𝘁𝗀 clay. So that is where these little birds came from. So the market comes, all the artisans are doing, the live demos and teaching people how to mold clay, but they will use the leftover clay to make these little birds, and they're actually whistles. So imagine the market full of this stuff. Yep. So what is beautiful about this is, like, you have them, once a year, done by these artisans. I'm sure this one is probably made in a mold just because it looks too perfect. Yeah. But it's stamped in the bottom. So happy to show it to people later. If you have some at home, you probably can see it. Now they do them in all sort of ways. There's some really pretty ones. They're made by glass. So they're like very glass made. They're beautiful. You find them in the souvenir shops, but they're like, I don't know, 100 euros. This was like 10. So, yeah, sources say that it's 5 to like 25 euros. Yeah. You can buy them. And yeah, they became kind of an item of for collectors. A collectible item. So if and you're local, so you probably know some of the people that I've met here from Luxembourg, they were born and raised here. They can date, my family has been here for 10 generations or for 5 generations or whatever. They really know their ancestry. And they probably have a collection of these, that have been passed through generations, their great-grandparents and such. So it's part of the tradition to buy these and to collect these as well. Yeah, and they, as you said, they didn't really look that, pretty from the, at the very beginning. They were terracotta, so they, the surface was a little bit, not very smooth, and were kind of, of the same color. And some of them did not even look like birds to begin with. Some of them are really not that pretty. I don't know if you remember last year, they issued a special edition
Colorful.
because of the coronation.
Yeah.
And it had those little crown or whatever, and they had other ones that looked like the police officers or all. They're really not that pretty. So I'm like, okay, cute, but okay.
You can really tell they're like handmade. Okay, we're not mocking.
No. But
yeah.
my friend sitting over there, like in the back, Barbara said that she's bought one from a local artist, from 𝗥𝘭𝘋, and it's like, it's really, really beautiful.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm sure we can find these anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. No, but it's also the market itself, just to wrap this section maybe up, the market itself is very lively. Like any, you know, earthenware or pottery market, plus there are other things that you can also buy. There's food, there's some music going on, and you know, why we decided to include it also on the list of traditions is because it's kind of, you know, something that really symbolizes the spring, and you know that the winter is really over. Like on that day, it really is the case. And finally, you can, like, you know, exhale and have the feeling that you can finally have some fun, you know.
Yeah, and it had a decline during World War I. The production went abroad to Germany for a little bit. Then there was a committee called the Ältestad. And in 1937, they said, let's bring it back. So what they did is in 1938, they brought the production back to Luxembourg, again, made with Nosspelt clay. And there was a revival in Luxembourg City that year, and in 1957 in Nosspelt. During World War II, it continued, but they moved it from the fish market to Place Guillaume II for a few years. Then they moved it back once the war was over. And I don't know why it was moved. Like, really, there's no rhyme or reason. Maybe space, or maybe they were using that area for something else.
Yeah, it's not too far away.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not that far away. And then they just moved it back to the original spot, which is not far from St. Michael's Church. I'm like, I don't see the much logic. So you move it from here to here. It's like, I don't know, 50 meters away, but okay.
Well, I guess Luxembourg City was, you know, much smaller
exactly
than it is now. So, also, yeah. And now to really wrap it up. So we are going to have a bit of a animation here, just to run you through what we just covered, and I hope visually it's going to be helpful. So at the very beginning, on this continuum of traditions, we have the carnival. So this year, and the dates that you're going to see, they are all this year's dates, February the 15th. So this is something that kind of kicks it all off. Then we have Bruges. So again, this year, 22nd of February. In the Moselle region, we had the Lenin Sondage, Born Sunday, which used to coincide and happen on the same day. Then we have the Pretzel Sondage on the 4th Sunday of Lent, March the 15th.
Save the date.
Yeah, save the dates, exactly.
Guys.
What we did not
mention... yes, thank you. Guys, this is your year, next year too, but in any leap year is the woman who gives the pretzel to the guy. So save the date for, she's like, Nicola's like, no. Save the date for 2028.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be buying my own pretzel anyway, so.
The roles reverse, yes, that is
the roles reverse. So the woman gives the pretzel to the man and then backwards. So leap year, there's a reversal.
Yeah. Now, so yeah, these two are connected. And after the pretzel Sondage, we have Easter. So this is when the egg is given to the guy, or
the basket.
Empty basket, yes.
Or the 𝗙𝗪.
To be dumped. The repetition is the mother of learning. And 𝗙𝗵𝘁𝘀 on the continuum of traditions. Again, the market with the bird whistle clays. And the true traditions that I hope that you can see behind me, the two traditions that are not that widespread in Luxembourg anymore, and it was really difficult to find the visuals as well. But all the citations are, you know, are there on the slide. So this is the 𝗓𝗨𝗋 that women give. Is it women that give back 𝗓𝗨𝗋s?
No, they gave the egg.
Men.
So it's the guy.
Yeah. Okay. So if he got the egg, they got the 𝘓𝘶. And then the final one on Pentecost, bread-shaped baked good. Voilà.
Another pastry.
Another pastry. No, listen. So this is what I this is what I wanted to say. Now, if you look at this calendar, you kind of happen to have 3 months from the very beginning, if we start counting from from Bridgebannon, until Pentecost. So this is the courtship timeline. I mean, obviously, if you look at that through the lens of our modern times, kind of a bit too much. Too long, like I want it now, I wanted it yesterday, like, do you know what I mean? At the same time, no, if he gives me food, it's okay, like ça va, I can kind of wait.
Ça va, voilà.
Yeah, voilà. But at the same time, the food is not guaranteed because if somebody gives me the pretzel, then if it's only if I give the egg back that I got the 𝘓𝘶, and then I can give the thingy back that is the on Pentecost.
But good that we still have the pretzel and the egg, so that's still going on,
Yeah, at least that. So voila, I think this is pretty much.
Yeah, so here is the seasonal arc. So we destroy the winter, the sun is out, the crops are going to start growing, the flowers are coming. We're going to find our significant other if we want to do that. I'm a feminist, so I'm like, if you want to do that, that's up to you. And then we're going to celebrate with whistles. The joy that we have sun and we have warmth and we have food and we have love. Mm-hmm. That's right on time.
Right on time. But, we still have some time for questions. So if anybody has a question, we have the time to answer.
I have a question. So this market on the Easter Monday, it still nowadays it's still
happening.
Yes, but also in 𝘂𝗏𝗏, right?
Yeah.
So it's in both, in Luxembourg
Yeah.
City and 𝘂𝗏𝗏. And you've been to both, to also 𝘂𝗏𝗏?
I've been to the one here.
And 𝘂𝗏𝗏 you haven't?
Let's go.
I'm always traveling for Easter, so I'm never here. So.
Wow.
Well, stay and let's go.
Not this year, it's already booked my ticket. Maybe next year.
That's the thing, like when there's a long weekend in Luxembourg. So I understand. Well, I'll go and I'll send you pictures.
So about giving out pretzels and getting back eggs, right? Are there any limit, or can guys give out many pretzels and women can return many eggs?
It's one.
That's it.
Why?
But now the eggs are like this and they're full of, candy and stuff. So if you want to give a really big egg, you can.
I mean, you can also, for example, if you're married, right?
She's married.
I know. I would set a rule. I mean, you can bring all the pretzels because they're also different. Like at each bakery.
I would set the rule jewelry. I can buy my own pretzel.
Jewelry, a pretzel-shaped jewelry. Okay.
Not sure about that.
So I had a question, but it's really practical, to the point, mathematic. But back in the days, so because it was you said it was small communities, like villages or whatever. So maybe there's 10 ladies for 5 dudes, or the contrary. So how does the math work? Because probably there's 1 or 2 ladies that are more attractive than the rest.
First come, first serve.
So yeah, because probably 5 dudes will give 5 pretzels to 2. So what happens to the other ones? Is just single
back,
forever, or what?
No, I don't know, single forever. Maybe there will be another person moving into that town, that can receive a pretzel someday. But remember that women didn't have a lot of choice. So probably these pairings happened because of the parents got together, they worked it out. Church people got together, they worked it out. So I don't know if they were, even numbers and what happened to the single one. There's no data on that. But I'm sure he can try the next year.
Okay, and then I have just a follow-up question. Because let's say you receive a pretzel in the Middle Ages, then you like the dude, and then so you give him an egg, but then I don't know, nothing happens. What happens then? Did such cases occur then, or was it just like, okay, I got an egg, okay, let's do it, let's go to the end?
Well, again, because I looked into it, there's really no data what happened there. But given that it was set by the church, and given that these pairings were probably prearranged, I don't think there was a lot of option to get out of it. I mean, we want to see it with the modern lens that, oh, I can, just do what I want or whatever. The women did not have a choice. I mean, they could probably use poison in the egg. Just an idea. Again, from the Middle Ages. Allegedly. Brought to you by Caterina di Medici. It was like...
All right, anyone else? Oh, another one.
Yes. Okay, so that was a really great overview of Luxembourg spring traditions. Do we have in Luxembourg traditions in other seasons of the year? Are you planning to follow up to this event?
I leave it to the boss if she wants to follow up on this.
Yeah, I would love to follow up on this. Well, yes, of course. They are very carefully curated by the state. Also, we have a brochure where all of these traditions are listed. And without that brochure, I just want to get it on record. Without that brochure, it would have been very difficult, actually, to you understand even what they are and in which sequence they go. Each season has their own, related traditions related to the season. A lot of them are obviously church related. Some of them are related to the change of the season, like for example, 𝗔𝗏𝗏. And we also have, it's not a very common or widely celebrated tradition in August. That's the time for the harvest. And then later down the year, obviously, you have St. Nicholas. So basically, you can find a tradition to your liking, effectively, in each season in Luxembourg. Yes, definitely for the series, most of the events that we're going to have, they are going to either be about specific traditions like tonight or touch upon those. So, yes.
What are the next talks that you're going to host here, the next fireside chats, so they know?
Yeah, the next one is going to be, so they're going to be bi-monthly, right? So we're going to have the next one in April, end of April, then in June, then in September, and so on, every 2 months. And the second one is going to be about artisanship and craftsmanship, and it's going to be taking place in the Grund as well. So the Grund is traditionally the kind of neighborhood of craftsmen and artisans. Basically, we're going to be talking about the person who is related to that sphere. After that, it's going to be the cuisine of Luxembourg. After that, it is going to be the hopping procession of Echternach. Also, which I can't pronounce myself because it is a very difficult Luxembourgish word. But it's also related to religion.
The one that you jump 2 steps and go back 1?
Yes,
yeah,
yes, okay. Exactly. It's like this dance that they do.
That's actually protected also, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it's another topic is going to be about music, because there's a traditional song, Luxembourgish song that is traditional. So effectively, yes, each event is going to be planned around a traditional topic related to Luxembourg.
Looking forward to those.
Thank you.
I hope I see everyone here for the next
Every
talks.
single one.
I'll register right now.
So I think we can wrap it up. And I think it was a success. So, honestly, thank you for coming, and thank you for participating for this first one.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
I think for the first event, I couldn't have had a better guest. And yes, such an amazing audience as well. Thank you for coming. And now I think it's time for the drinks and the fruits. We are very ready. Sorry.